They called him a dreamer, but his dreams, unlike anything the world had ever known. This is the story of Saint Don Bosco, the priest who claimed he saw hell and lived to warn us. He walked through fire, he saw the faces of the damned, and he returned with a message that could save your soul. But what he saw didn't just haunt him, it transformed the church. This isn't just about visions, it's about warfare, prophecy, and the two pillars that would keep the church alive through the storm. Stay with me. You're about to witness one of the most shocking and inspiring stories in Catholic history. Saint Don Bosco was born in 1815 in the rolling hills of Piedmont, Italy. He was poor, fatherless, and spent his youth tending sheep and working odd jobs. But even as a child, he was different. At just 9 years old, John had a dream that would define the rest of his life. He saw a field full of wild, cursing boys. Suddenly, a mysterious man appeared and said, "Not with blows, but with kindness must you win them." The boys transformed into wild animals, and then into gentle lambs. And in that moment, a majestic woman appeared, radiant as the sun. She took his hand and said, "This is your mission." From that moment on, Don Bosco knew he was called to save souls. As he grew older, Don Bosco became a priest, and he turned his heart to the streets of Turin, a city bursting with orphans, crime, and despair. He opened an oratory, a sanctuary for young boys. He fed them, taught them, cared for them. He gave them a home. But while the world saw only a humble priest with a house full of noisy kids, heaven saw a warrior. If you're moved by stories like this, faith, fire, and the fight for souls, click subscribe and join us on this mission to rediscover the power of the Rosary and the saints. Because God began sending Bosco visions, and not just gentle dreams, but terrifying, prophetic ones. The most famous, his vision of hell. Bosco found himself in a dream, walking with a guide along a narrow path. The path began to slope downward. The air grew hot. Screams echoed in the distance. He saw souls, chained and tortured, dragged into fiery pits. He saw young people, his own boys, falling into the abyss. Some were damned for impurity, others for rebellion, still others for neglecting confession and the Eucharist. Bosco begged to help them, but the angelic guide said, "You cannot help them now. Their time is over." When he awoke, Bosco was drenched in sweat, and from that moment on, he preached with fire. "If I could gather all the youth of the world," he once said, "I would cry out, 'Save your souls!'" Have you ever had a dream or a moment that felt like a warning or a calling? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. But Bosco wasn't just shown hell. He was also shown hope. In another vision, he saw a great storm at sea, a massive ship, the church, being attacked on all sides. The Pope stood at the helm. Then suddenly, two pillars rose from the waves, one glowing with the Eucharist, the other with Mary holding a rosary. Only by anchoring the ship to these two pillars could the church survive. That vision became known as the Dream of the Two Pillars. And it wasn't just a dream, it was a roadmap for surviving the attacks that were still to come. Even in our time, Saint Don Bosco gave his life to that mission. He heard confessions for hours. He taught the faith. He worked miracles. and he reminded the world the Rosary and the Eucharist are the twin weapons of spiritual warfare. He died in 1888, but his legacy lives on in the Salesian order, in the countless boys he saved, and in the prophetic warnings he left behind. If this message lit a fire in your soul, don't let it go out. Watch our full documentary on the Rosary's hidden power, and before you go, pray 1 decade today for your soul, for someone who's lost, for the Church. Let's fight, not with swords, but with beads. Ave Maria.